All right, so today I'm going to talk about the relationship between Tanzao, Fuksao, and Wusao within S.L.T. Now, as you know, with those three motions, we're learning half of this vertical line of our triangle shield. So when I'm doing these positions, where exactly am I doing it? Am I doing Tanzao and just kind of coming out with that randomly? Am I doing Fuksao and I'm trying to position myself randomly here? I don't want to come forward. Same thing with Wusao, I'm drawing back. Now, there is a very specific relationship with all three of these motions that you need to understand and want to work on when you're doing S.L.T. S.L.T. is arguably the most important form within the whole Wing Chun system. You could spend a lifetime just trying to dissect that and trying to develop that for yourself. So let's talk about that relationship. So as I've said, everything we're doing is staying within this half of the triangle, whichever side that I'm doing. So when I'm doing Tanzao, all right, you need to understand that one, this elbow forearm line is always going to the target. Now, when I talk about the target, when I'm here, the target is this triangle that I am developing. So the fingertips, where the middle fingers meet, that's my target. That's my mental focus of where I want to go with that. So when I'm here, this elbow forearm line is always going to that target. So when I'm here, I'm going to that target. The elbow forearm line. Don't think my Tanzao has to ride up this way to that target. That will throw the tension off. I'll get into that more specific tension in future videos, and I've talked about that a little bit in some previous videos. But I will get into that more specifically in the future, the tension that we're trying to develop with that. So when I'm doing Tanzao and I'm developing that, what you want to work on in the beginning is understanding how this half of the triangle is covering my center line. So from here, so I learned this apex of the triangle. So as you can see here, and I'll kind of dip down for this, I want the inside portion of my wrist right here and my middle line to intersect with that, center line. So when I'm here, as you can see, the inside elbow is always going forward. The inside of the wrist and the middle knuckle are always going forward to cover that center line. Now, when I go and do Wusao and I'm circling with that, now the inside of the wrist is my thumb side. And my middle knuckle right here is still in the center line. So as I come back, covering the center line, that tip of the triangle is always being maintained. And now when I do Fuksao, it's the same thing. I'm not doing Fuksao with my middle knuckles in the center line here. I actually want the wrist to be in the center line. So that triangle is always being maintained. So when I'm coming from here, I go Fuksao, Tanzao, and then from here, to Wusao. And that way I'm always able to cover the triangle in whatever position that I'm going in. And that's the relationship that you want to get into and understand when you're doing section 1 of S.L.T. Now, ultimately, you need to learn those positions, and then at greater levels, how they relate to my body is always supporting that, and ultimately how my legs are supporting the body, which support the arms, and so on. Develop that and understand that whole kinetic chain. But you need to understand that position so that the inside of the wrist, whether I'm in Tanzao or if I'm in Wusao, whether it's the pinky side or the thumb side, it's always that inside aspect of the wrist that needs to be covered. And then, as a secondary note, that middle knuckle always will think when I'm in Wusao, should be in the center line. When I'm in Tanzao, will be in the center line. But now with Fuksao, it'll actually be over. Because if I'm here and I try to translate that, oh, my middle knuckle should be in the center when I do Fuksao, this actually throws my arm out of position. Now, look at where the elbow forearm line is to the target. Right here, it can stay universal, whether I'm in Tanzao, whether I'm in Fuksao, or whether I'm in Wusao. That elbow forearm line is always staying the same. But if I'm here in Fuksao, this actually goes out. Now, why is that important to understand? Because everything we do is to develop how the body is working as one total structure. And I need to learn to do that in the most economic, practical way, the most natural, organic way. Again, if I'm gonna go push something, I'm not gonna push and have my elbows flared out here. If I'm like, oh man, I gotta push whatever it is in front of me, your elbows will naturally come in line so that your body can best support that. That's what we're trying to do with Chun. We're trying to develop that understanding, that awareness of how that body is working. And I tell you this, you naturally do it every time you do it. But now when you think about it, that's when you don't do it. Keep practicing.